But I don't know how you get through a conversation about dynamic playmakers and don't mention J.J. McCarthy as a weapon that provides an advantage at the quarterback position over both Ohio State and Georgia. I'm excited to answer a Michigan question. I think it's going to segue into a good Penn State discussion too, but also I'm excited to have a Michigan discussion that doesn't have to do with 4K video cameras. So, boy. It's a question that I feel like we've had to answer for weeks now because Michigan's a legit national championship contender and the Big Ten favorite. How good is J.J. McCarthy?
I mean, did you not see enough last year, Ari?
I saw that he made the plays that were there for him. I never viewed J.J. McCarthy as a person that would put the team on his back and go win them a game.
And that's not, though.
But I'm saying he's going to have to. This is a playoff discussion.
No, he's not.
You don't think he's going to have to?
Are you going to throw out the term game manager, Ari? Is that where this is headed? Because it feels like that's what you're about to say.
The question couched it as a discussion about dynamic playmaking ability, and they don't have it for the most part at the wide receiver position. They have two very talented running backs, but in the world where they don't have the receivers like Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka and some of the other guys that are out there, I know Audrey's familiar with this too, with the Penn State situation.
Oh, yeah.
Do they have a quarterback that can make up for that lack of playmaking ability on the outside in a close game against a Georgia team that you think they can beat?
Here's the thing, Ari. You mentioned, and I know the question mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka. Nobody else in college football has that either, right? Like that to me, that's an unfair comparison because you're comparing arguably the best guy in college football and saying, oh, well, nobody else has Marvin Harrison. Well,
but if you look at the playoff teams, Audrey, I mean,
they've got
Florida State has Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, and Washington's got two guys that we might want to be in this conversation. Teams that they're going to play, if they get to this stage, are going to have these guys. I mean, you're going to have to out-athlete somebody eventually.
For sure, but I also think, too, if you're Michigan, you've got an insanely good defense, right? And I think that's where, and I know Ubben has been getting more familiar with our lovely style of play here in the Big Ten and the grind it out, this beautiful game that we play here in Big Ten country. I think that's
which disgusts him.
It does. It absolutely makes him completely disgusted. But I think that's where Michigan gets the edge, right? And that's where they're going to have to do it. Now, do they have the skill position talent? No, but can you come up with some takeaways and come in a game like this? Can your suffocating defense find a way to flip a game? Absolutely, right? Like it feels like, and this has kind of always been my thought just covering, the Big Ten for 14 years watching Penn State. Sometimes it feels like we're almost playing a different game over here in Big Ten country sometimes. And then I turn on the games at night and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, like look at these offenses. It's just, I think, meshing different styles. But I think the kind of the unfair thing is to throw out Marvin Harrison Jr. just because nobody else has that.
So as you were talking, like the anger was boiling in my stomach.
I love that.
What happens. Welcome to the show. I'm going to retort and then I'm going to allow Dave to jump in here. I take great exception to the notion that Michigan is going to game manage itself at the quarterback position to a national championship. And I know teams have really good defenses, but Georgia had to score 42 points in a game against Ohio State last year to win with one of the best defenses we've ever seen. Like, Michigan is not going to Big Ten football its way to a national championship. It is going to find itself in a game against a Florida State or a Washington or a Georgia, or dare I say even Ohio State at the end of the year, where they're going to have to score points and their quarterback is going to have to make a play. And J.J. McCarthy last year, if you go back and watch the Michigan-Ohio State game, and I've seen it a few times, he made plays. He put the ball where it needed to be, but was he put in a position in that game at any point to go out and do something and win that game for that team? And he wasn't. So the question is, if they lack the dynamic skill position players at the outside, and they get into a game with a Georgia or Ohio State or Florida State or Washington or one of these teams that scores in bunches, and they get into a shootout, because defenses, I don't care how good you are, eventually in an indoor air-conditioned dome,
fast track,
you're going to get into a game with a team that is just as talented or more talented than you, and you're going to have to score points in bunches. And is J.J. McCarthy the X factor in your mind for Michigan's football program? By the way, the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy right now. Is that the guy? Is he that dude? Yes or no? Really? I don't think he is.
Is he really
he's the favorite. Yeah, he coming into the weekend, well, I mean, what happened was Penix played in a close game with ASU, and that's how fickle the odds are right now. But
Ryan Day would like a word, Ari.
Well, people got into a discussion.
He wants a word.
I mean, Ubben thinks there's a 0% chance that Marvin Harrison can win the Heisman, and that's the reason why he's the favorite, because people vote for the quarterback of the best team, and Michigan's the best team right now, and their quarterback is good. But I don't know that I view J.J. McCarthy as a Caleb Williams or Drake May or somebody. I don't know. Like, am I wrong?
Listen, Ari. It's not
you
that
called him a game manager 30 seconds ago.
I didn't.
We were tossing out the term. We were just discussing the term.
Here's the thing, Ari. It's not that he is. Nobody's asking him to be Caleb Williams. Okay. The question is he good enough to win a national title for them? And I think that the answer to that is very clearly yes. Okay. It's not like yes. Okay. Rome Wilson is not Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay. Cornelius Johnson is not Emeka Egbuka. That's fine. But you're just assuming that they're not going to be able to get open like Penn State's receivers. I think they're better than anybody that.
Oh, they are better than Penn State's receivers.
Yeah, okay.
I think pretty much everyone's receivers
not going to be able to get open, and I think they will.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Well, but okay, but J.J. McCarthy's still the same guy who threw for 340 yards when they did get in a shootout against TCU, and we can talk about that game all we want, but they did win the game. They won the football game, or they lost.
Who won the football game? Yeah,
TCU won the football game.
Yeah,
J.J. McCarthy played well enough to win the football game. That's just the reality.
There's a lot of weird things that happened in the game. I covered it. I'm not going to.
I'm just saying
down on J.J. McCarthy for them losing.
That was not game managing. Okay,
but I'm saying if
he can't help it that his team is so good that they're never losing games and they're beating the crap out of people.
When their receivers don't get open, is J.J. McCarthy going to make a play?
He's going to have to. And
is he going to put the team on the back and is he the difference?
Maybe that play is a check down and one of your running backs makes a play, right? Maybe that play is your defense stepping up in the big moment. I don't know, Ari. Maybe there's some signs that point to some things for things breaking Michigan's way.
You're oversimplifying things on this, Ari. I don't.
You're the person that says that great defense falters in the playoff. You're the one that says it. You don't.
I don't say it. Where are you? Ari just.
Can we roll the tape on that?
Your whole thing with Alabama this year was that their offense wasn't going to be able to score enough games, even if their defense was great in a playoff
because
to win.
They didn't have a quarterback or any skill position talent. Michigan has good running backs. They have a above average quarterback, and they have good enough receivers.
Well, and an elite defense
isn't about whether he's above average. I know he's above average. He's a top 15 pick in some mock drafts. I know he's above average. I'm asking you if you think he can put the team on their back when they're playing Georgia, and I'm getting a bunch of comparisons to what it's like to beat Illinois.
He's not
put yourself in the dome, bud.
He's not going to have to put the team on his back, Ari, but he's good enough for Michigan to win the national title, and that's all there's.
At a certain point,
any conversation about him in the Heisman is ridiculous. Okay, he will not be on my Heisman ballot.
I'll say you guys Heisman voters,
right?
I am. Yeah,
I am as well.
Okay,
I want to know what team has won a national championship at any point in the last decade that didn't have a moment where the quarterback has to be electric at some point.
I mean,
it doesn't happen. Even Stetson Bennett made a bunch of important plays. It's not his fault that Michigan doesn't get in tight games. It's not. And he hasn't had to be put in those situations. Are you saying? I'm asking you, when he gets put in that situation, do you think he will be the difference maker?
I think he can be, but he's been put in that situation almost never. And that's not his fault. You haven't.
I just don't feel like we're answering the man's question. The man's question is he the person that's going to make up for the lack of explosive first-round playmaking talent at the wide receiver position? Yes or no?
And the answer is that he's going to have to be. They're going to have to find a way to win because they're absolutely going to need him to do that. And
Michigan if Michigan doesn't win a national title, it won't be because of J.J. McCarthy, Ari. It's not going to be.
I feel like you've opened the door for something here, Ari. And I don't know if it's a door we want to go down, but I feel like you cracked it open.
Was he able to chuck it deep?
Well, not quite. That's not quite right. But you mentioned Ohio State. Kyle McCord, your early impressions. Is he the guy that can get the Buckeyes over the hump?
No. I said on the podcast,
but he has all the skill position talent. So wouldn't that fast track in the dome? He's got all the talent. Wouldn't he have the advantage?
If somebody called in and said, do you think Ohio State has the X factor at quarterback to win a playoff game? My answer would be no. The question, that wasn't the question. The question was,
I was just,
Michigan doesn't have it. No, I think that Ohio State cannot beat Georgia as a result of their less than dynamic quarterback play. I think that you need a guy. I mean, even Stetson Bennett is like very underrated for what he did for that team the last few years. Like, you need a guy who can go make you a play. I think J.J. McCarthy takes what's there for him. I don't recall very many instances during his career in Michigan, and maybe because they haven't played in very many close games, where Michigan explicitly won because he did something outstanding.
Yeah. But that's all right.
Which is how you make up for the lack of skill at other positions.